Hi everybody, it's Keren here from tuppencecoloured.co.uk and thank you very much for joining me today. This is the box that I've been making today. I have sized it to hold a bar of peppermint chocolate, and there it is, there's my peppermint chocolate. And the nice thing about this box as well is it's one of those that folds flat. Okay, so you can make up a load of these, store them in a drawer somewhere and just bring them out, pop them up when you need them and pop the contents inside. Now if you stay with me, I will not only show you how I made the box, but I will also show you how I did my calculations so that I knew where to cut and score and fold. So stick with me and I will show you how I did it. The things that I'm going to be using today, I've got some Emerald Envy card, and I'm going to tell you what the dimensions are a bit later on because we're going to work them out together. And I've also got some Emerald Envy from the Designer Series paper stack. Now Emerald Envy as a colour isn't retiring, but the DSP stack is, and so is the ruched ribbon, which I have here, and the Whisper White thick baker's twine, that's also retiring. So if you want any of that stuff, you know, get your hands on it quickly. The ink isn't retiring though, so I'm going to be using the Emerald Envy stamp pad, and I'm going to be using some dies. So I've got the layering ovals framelets and the stitched shapes framelets. Now you could just use one or the other of those. It's entirely up to you, but as I have them both, I'm going to use them both. Another item that's retiring is the Pearls Basic Jewels. There are going to be pearls in the new catalogue, but they're going to be slightly different size. I've got a scrap of Whisper White for stamping on, and to do my stamping I'm using Sweet Sentiments. And again, this is something that's in the spring summer catalogue, and it's not going to be carried over to the annual catalogue. So if you want this, get onto the website and order yours now. Usually I would tell you at this point what size I've cut my card to, and today I'm not going to do that straight away. What I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the process of how I actually go about making those calculations in the first place, because if you follow my measurements, you will be able to make a box that fits a bar of chocolate like this. But what if your bar of chocolate is a different size? Or what if it isn't chocolate that you want to give in a little fold flat box? What if it's something else altogether? So I thought I would show you how I do those calculations, because once you know that, then you can go ahead and make your own calculations and make boxes that are custom sized to fit whatever it is that you want to give. So I started off by measuring my bar of peppermint chocolate, and I found that when I folded the flaps in like that, it was 5.5 inches that way, and it was 1.5 inches in that dimension, and it was about 3/8 of an inch deep. Now, if I make a box that's exactly that size, what I will wind up with is a box that is just too tight for the contents to get inside. All right, it will be it will be a total squash. So what you have to do is you have to add something which in dressmaking is known as ease, and what it basically means is that your clothes are actually bigger than you are. And for this box I'm going to be quite generous because I'm going to wrap this in a piece of paper afterwards. So I'm going to add I think 1/4 of an inch to each of these, and I'm going to actually double that measurement. So if I add 1/4 of an inch to 5.5, I get 5 3/4, or 5 3/4, as some people like to call it. And same thing if I add 1/4 of an inch to 1.5 inches, then I get 1 3/4 or 3/4. And if I double 3/8 of an inch, I get 3/4 or 3/4 of an inch. All right, you with me so far? Now, the beauty of this is that I work in inches. When I went to school, that was the way we were taught. We were taught in feet and inches. The metric system didn't really start coming in until after I'd left school. Yes, I am that old. So I think in inches. All right, I know where I am with an inch. I'm absolutely fine with it. But the same principle applies if you were using centimeters. So I would probably add on to my base measurement in centimeters. I would probably add about half a centimeter of ease to each of these dimensions. But you know, experiment with it, play with it, see what you've got. Okay, so that is the size that I want my finished box to fold up to. Right, so now I'm going to plan my box. So I'm going to need a piece that is a bit like that for the base of my box, and I'm going to need a 3/4 of an inch fold there. So that's the base of my box on one side, and now another piece that's the same size as this for the top of my box, and another piece on there for the other fold of my box. All right, and I'm going to add half an inch on the bottom there for glue. All right, okay, so I'm going to extend these out a little way, okay, because I'm going to add now some flaps in my box. So I'm going to want let me see, I'm going to want one there, okay, one the same that side. It's a bit oversized, that one, so I just cut that down. This is not to scale, right, this is just very, very rough. So this is kind of how big my box is going to be with all my score lines in. Okay, but I'm not going to want these bits, but I'm going to want these because these are going to be my tuck-in flaps. Okay, so now I'm going to want those. Yes, I am. I'm going to want 4 of those. Okay, so that's the plan of my box. So now I have to put some sizing onto it. All right, so this is going to be the longest or widest dimension from there to there. Okay, so I know that this is going to be 5 3/4 of an inch that way, yeah, and I want my box to be 3/4 of an inch deep, and I want tuck-in flaps that are the same size. All right, so I've got 3/4 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch, 5 3/4 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch, and 3/4 of an inch. All right, so that all adds up to, and I'm going to use a calculator to help me. So 3/4 is 0.75 in decimal, so I've got another 0.75 there. Okay, and next I want to include the 5 3/4, so that's 5.75, and another 3/4 of an inch, so another 0.75, and another 3/4 of an inch, so 0.75. Okay, so I need to cut my card 8 3/4 of an inch in that direction. All right, so now this way, let me turn my card this way. So I know that this is 1 3/4 there, 3/4 of an inch there, another 1 3/4, 3/4, and this is going to be half an inch. Okay, so how wide do I need to cut my card? So I'm going to work myself left to right there, and so 1 3/4 is 1.75 plus 0.75 plus 1.75 plus 0.75 plus 0.5, and the answer is 5.5 inches that way. And that is how big I have cut my card. So there's my card, cut to the size that I worked out it should be. The next thing I need to do is work out where I need to score and fold it. So I'm going to go back to my measurements again, and my first score line I'm going to work along the long side first. So my first score line needs to be at 3/4 of an inch, which is 0.75. So I'm just going to put that into the calculator. And then my next score line is going to be 3/4 of an inch from that. So I'm going to add another 3/4 of an inch, another 0.75. And then that takes me to 1.5 inches, 1.5. Okay, so the next score line after that one is all the way over here, and I need to add another 5 3/4 inches. So add 5.75 to that, and that comes out at 7 1/4 inches. Okay, my next score line needs to be 3/4 of an inch or 0.75 on from that one. So if I add 0.75 to that, then that takes me up to 8 inches, and that's my final score line. So I'm going to need to score 3/4 of an inch, 1.5 inches, 7 1/4 inches, and 8 inches, and that's in the on the long side. For the scoring on the short side, we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to start with making our first score at 1 3/4 of an inch, which is 1.75. So I've written that down. Let's put that into the calculator. So 1.75 plus. So the next line is 3/4 of an inch over. So let's add 0.75, and that's 2.5 inches. Our next score line is 1 3/4 inches away from that one. So let's add 1.75. And that takes us to 4 1/4 inches. And then our last score line is at 0.75, 3/4 of an inch away from that one. So add 0.75 equals, and that's 5 inches. Okay, so on this side we're going to score at 1 3/4 inches, 2.5, 4 1/4, and 5 inches. So now I've done those calculations, I know where to score my card. So I'm going to score it at 3/4 of an inch, then at 1.5 inches, and then 7 1/4 inches, and then at 8 inches. So that's all my scoring done on my long edge. So if I turn this around, and now I'm going to score it at 1 3/4 inches, and then at 2.5, and then at 4 1/4, and at 5 inches. Okay, and that is all my scoring done. I've burnished the folds well, and now there are some bits of card that I want to cut away. So I don't need these pieces here. This is my 1/2 inch. It's going to be my fold over. I don't need these little pieces here. I want to keep these pieces, and I want to keep this square, but I don't need that one there. And I want to keep that one, but I don't need that one there. And I don't need any of these pieces here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and take my scissors, and I'm going to snip away those pieces that I don't need. And I'll see you in a little while. I'm also going to snip down as far as where those fold lines cross there, and I'm just going to snip away a couple of little thin slivers out of those pieces. These are going to be my flaps that tuck in, and I'm also going to trim a little bit of this edge here and here, and same thing here. I'm just going to do a couple more things before I stick this box together. 3, 2, 1. And I'm just going to do a couple more things before I stick this box together. And one is I'm going to put a little notch on this end here. just so that I know where to open my box. And the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to round off the corners of this flap. So fit that into my corner rounder. I've folded those other pieces out of the way so they don't get in the way. And same again here. Okay, that didn't work very well. And there we go. It just gives it a little bit of a neater finish. And as usual, I haven't caught that very well. Because my edge wasn't absolutely straight. So I'm just going to take my scissors and just tidy that up a little bit. Okay, so this is all ready now to be stuck together. And to do that, I'm going to use some tear and tape. Okay, so to decorate the box, I've cut myself a couple of pieces of the Emerald Envy DSP, and I've cut this to 5.5 by 1.5 inches, and that's going to go on the front and the back of the box. And I'm going to use my trusty liquid adhesive, and again you could use snail, you could use fast fuse, you could use tape, you could use whatever you like. I happen to rather like the wiggle room that you get with liquid adhesive, because I'm not very good at straight, right? And I need all the help I can get. And I've decided to go with the stripy side, because for me that sort of says, you know, like peppermint stripes. But you know, you use whatever you've got. This is a good little project actually for using up the little scraps of DSP that you've got that you absolutely hate to throw away. Okay, because I know I've got those. Okay, so I'm going to close up my box just to see how that is looking, and that's coming quite nicely. Okay, so before I go any further, let's wrap up my bar of cream chocolate. And I've cut a piece of DSP that is 5.5 inches by, I think it's about 5 inches, and it more than wraps around my bar of chocolate, so I could probably got away with making that at least 1/2 inch shorter, but I didn't. Right, where's my tape gone? No, there it is, right in front of me. Oh dear. This was supposed to be a quick and easy project. Ah, dear me. Okay. So I'm doing this now so that I don't forget to do it later, because I kind of would. Wrapping that, and that's folded up quite neatly, and then that should fit nicely into my box, which it does. And there you go. Right, let's do a little bit of stamping. I've got my Emerald Envy ink, and I've got my stamps already set up on my clear blocks, and I'm just going to okay, so I'm going with the best things in life are sweet, and I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's transferred beautifully. And then the other part of it, it says just like you. Right, I'm going to 3, 2, 1. Right, now I'm going to cut these out with the layering ovals dies. And I think that one and that one, or possibly the next size up would be better on that one. Yes, it would. So I'm going to use those two, and I'm also going to use the stitched ovals from the Stitched Shapes framelets, and I'm going to cut out some layering pieces in Emerald Envy. So I'm going to go over to the Big Shot and do that, and I'll be right back. Okay folks, I'm back from the Big Shot, and here are my die cut out pieces, and now I'm just going to layer them up onto the backing like this. And shall I put that flat or shall I layer it? I'm going to layer it up, but actually before I do that, I'm going to put a little ribbon bow on it. So I've got my Emerald Envy ruched satin ribbon, or ruched ribbon. I don't know why I wanted to say ruched satin, because it isn't satin at all. It's more of a taffeta, I would say, actually. Okay, so let's fiddle with that until I'm happy with it, which is about now. And let's cut away the excess pieces, just like that. And what am I going to stick this on with? Glue dot would probably be the best thing, but I'm just going to put a little bit of liquid adhesive, because glue dots and I are not the best of friends. You know, I don't know whether it's something I said, but we just don't get on. And that will stick quite nicely. I'm just going to hold that there just for a couple of seconds. And I'm going to put a bit more adhesive on there. Maybe I should have gone with the glue dots after all. Okay, so yeah, be generous with the adhesive. And I'm going to use one of the large pearls, which has flown across my desk. I'm going to put that there, just like that. And I'm happy with that, so let's have a couple of dimensionals onto the back of this piece. Okay, that didn't happen. You didn't see that. Right, that didn't happen. Didn't happen at all. Okay. Okay, and let's put that down onto the front of my box. Alright, and I will let the adhesive have a good long time to set. Alright, so I'll put that on one side while I work on the wrapped chocolate inside. Now, this one I am going to start by putting this piece onto my chocolate bar, just like that. Okay, and I'm going to keep this flat because it's all going to be inside the wrapper, so I want to keep it, you know, I don't want too much dimension on it. Okay, so let's see. Let's use some of the small pearls here, not the teeny tiny ones. These are the smaller ones. Put them there, just like that. All right. And just one more thing. I'm just going to tie a bow in my thick baker's twine. The Whisper White is one of the colours that I think is retiring, which I'm quite sad about, because I don't tend to use baker's twine a lot, but when I do, it's either the white or the very vanilla that I like to use. So and I think they're both going. Horrors. Okay, and a nice generous blob of adhesive this time. Pop that down, and we'll let that. And there it is. There is my finished box. Now I just want to say a couple of things that I discovered as I went along today, and one of them is that, first of all, I I did go back and I trimmed that flap a little bit more. It just made it that much easier to tuck inside the box. And the other thing is that I completely lost my head when I was designing this box, and the two pieces that I should have cut away, I cut from the wrong edge. So I will put a correct cutting diagram on my blog, okay, and the link is below. And also, if you skipped through the boring bit where I did all of the calculations and you just want the cutting lines and the dimensions, again, all on that same document on my blog, okay? But otherwise, I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and thank you very much for joining me. I'd be really thrilled if you would comment, like, share and subscribe to my channel. I'll be posting more videos very soon. But that is it for today. Thank you very much for joining me, and I hope I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.